Hello and welcome to the Indian Sun. Today I'll be talking to Pune-based Shalini, who turned an entrepreneur after the birth of her first child. When Shalini's son turned 6 months, she started scouring stores for healthy, ready-to-feed baby meal options. But she would come home empty-handed and disappointed as she would found practically nothing on the shelves that didn't have artificial flavors, colors, and preservatives. It was then that she also realized that there were no baby foods based on millets. Most consisted of either wheat or rice. Shali's disappointment soon gave way to a quest to find a solution to this annoying problem. She felt driven to create healthy and wholesome baby food that can be a time saver, especially for mommies on the go. Through conversations with family members and friends, Shalini decided to take a leap to entrepreneurship, and the rest is history. Early Foods was born in 2015. Hello, Shalini. How are you?
I'm good, Harsha. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to do this, to chat with you and have this conversation with
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for, asking me to do this.
Tell us about Shalini as a little girl, and was she a picky or a healthy eater?
It's a question that I don't recollect so much, but as far as I remember, I think I was sort of okay, not a very fussy child. But I do remember my mother always telling me that my dad had to always feed me, like maybe till the age of 6 or 7 years or something. I mean, the only thing that I recollect was that there was this, you remember the bore wells when we were kids? You remember we used to pump and then water used to come out.
Right.
So my dad used to pump the water, and whenever water comes out, I would take a bite. So that's what, was a story that they've told me, and I used to do that. So, but I think overall I've not been such a fussy complaining. Like I will not eat this, I will not eat this food item, or I don't like spicy and stuff like that. Overall, I've eaten, but yeah, some tantrums here and there, like every child.
Like every child. Your mother is actively involved in your business. So, can you talk about how she has supported you in setting up your business?
Yeah, extremely. So she is the person who's been there with Early Foods right from the inception, from day one. She is like a co-founder itself, right? So just because she's my mother, we take things. It's not like a very formal, what do you say, title, but she's been active right from day one, from formulating the recipes with me, like how much dry fruits is okay, how much of the watermelon seeds or makhana, or just she has a lot of knowledge about the spices also. So is nutmeg okay, is cinnamon okay? So basically a lot of traditional knowledge that she has inherited from her parents and her grandparents about what is good for a child, genuinely good for her child. She remembers what was being fed to children back in those days, and things like what would help in constipation, what would help in loose motions, what is good for the child's speech, and things like that. So she's been able to help me formulate those recipes, and apart from that, once these recipes were kind of formulated, we then spoke to like doctors to see if they were age appropriate and stuff like that. But yeah, a big support. And secondly, she is very very intelligent in optimizing the processing, so the efficiency of our processing, right? So washing the grains, right from procurement of the ingredients, checking the quality of the grains, procurement, and there are so many streamlining operations that has to be done once a company scales up, and she's been a critical part of that. She's the smartest in our company when it comes to all this optimization, efficiency, and cost cutting.
So I'll come to early foods a bit later. Before that, I'll ask you about the time before you started your business. You quit your job and you were at home. So after childbirth, when I quit my job, one unsolicited advice that was invariably offered to me was that a long break will hurt your career. Contrarily, what I found in my long drawn out break was that when you step back from the relentless work of a 9 to 5 job, it gives you space and time to mull over what is that thing that gives you happiness. And in this course of contemplation, you are struck by brilliant ideas. So, my question for you is, Shalini, what was it like for you to quit the job and stay at home, and how were you spurred on to set up a business?
Okay. Yes, I completely agree with you. I was on my maternity leave for 6 months.
Okay.
And as you said, exactly as you said, so I think I was working about 7 years or 8 years, I don't
Mhm.
recollect, but in the corporate job, 9 to 5, and worked like extensively 14, 15 hours a day, where you really don't have the time to think whether
Mhm.
you're really doing what you're supposed to do. Are you really happy? Answer those tough questions to yourself, right? You don't have the time, honestly. But this maternity leave was like my life changer. It changed my entire path, because that is the only time I had to think, uh, you know, am I really happy doing what I'm doing, and will I be extremely happy to go back to work? So when about 4 5 months is when I started getting this idea for early foods, when my son was about 4 5 months old. Just when we were starting to think of solids and introducing solids, and I was talking to other moms on WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups and stuff, and all of us had the same issues about feeding babies the right food, and there's nothing available, and if you're working, it's such a nightmare to do all these traditional recipes yourself. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm diverting from that, but yes, it was easy for me because of my maternity leave, and I was never scared, because I think my support from the family was very big. My husband, he just told me, Shalini, if you think that this is coming from your heart and you really want to pursue this passion, just go ahead and do it. So right after my maternity leave completed, I joined back, worked for 2 months to kind of finish the formalities,
Mhm.
and then officially started early foods. So that's how it happened for me, and it was, again, as I said, a life changing 6 months.
Okay. And I've read that your food recipes are drawn from ancient food wisdom, family recipes, and in consultation with nutritionists and pediatricians. So can you tell us more about the recipes?
Yeah, so I remember like ragi is something that is, or nachni, or finger millet, is a very common South Indian uh, a grain that is given to literally every child. Okay, uh, that's the tradition. Because why?
Mhm.
Because they are extremely high on calcium, high on iron, and high on fiber. So these are the three things that are extremely important for a growing child, right? The
Mhm.
bones are developing and stuff. And it's sprouted. The reason why it is sprouted, it's because the child can easily absorb. Their digestive system is still maturing, developing, and they cannot suddenly digest a wheat or a hard stuff that we normally as adults eat. So that's why they have to undergo a certain process of sprouting, and being soaked for 6 7 hours and sprouted for about a day, and then made into a porridge mix. So these are things that are traditional processes that don't exist in the existing product. So the existing product line is, you wash and clean the grains, and you heat them so much it loses half the nutrition,
Mhm.
and then you powder them because you want a lot of shelf life, right? So you heat them and you make them ready to eat. So that's the traditional knowledge that I wanted to bring in to early foods, not just in terms of the grain. So we bought in a lot of grains like little millet, like or called as um, kodo millet, which is also called as arka. Little millet is
Mhm.
also called as
Mhm.
tamak rice back in North India.
Mhm.
Bajra, which is very popular in Maharashtra,
Mhm.
and a lot of these grains, foxtail millet, very good for the nervous system development, and these are all forgotten grains.
Grains.
It's slowly becoming more popular day by day. The awareness is coming back again because of the rising health
Mhm.
issues that we are facing, right? So that was it. The recipes, and then just to bring back these forgotten grains
Mhm.
into early foods.
There was a time when moms would not think twice before dishing out Maggie to the kids, but now things have changed, as you said, considerably it has changed. So mothers are making conscious decisions on what their child should be eating. So what has been your experience? Do you see that change?
Yes, their mothers are more conscious, but I still feel that we have mountains and mountains to move. A lot of work to do in raising awareness of parents,
Mhm.
because I was recently exploring, and I still see
Mhm.
that Maggie is the top one seller on Amazon. You know,
Mm.
among the 3 or 4 lakh units of products that Amazon sells just in food items,
Mhm.
Maggie is number one. So it hurts me somewhere, but that's what I wanted to say, that we're still a small baby step in this direction. There is a lot of work to do. Yes, but what I want moms to do is that don't keep the knowledge to yourself. We need to share. If you see your friend giving a particular junk food, stop her and raise the awareness and of why he or she shouldn't be eating and shouldn't be feeding that to their child. So we need to kind of spread awareness from ourselves to our friends, our families. That's when it's going to reach everyone, and our kids who are now young will go into a safer space in the future.
Coming back to early foods, in the initial days, what kind of research and kitchen experiments did you dabble in before you nailed your first porridge mix?
Yeah, there was a lot of research. So basically, see, a lot of the things, because it started out of my home, it started off with simple conversations with my mother and my grandmother and relatives, my mother-in-law and stuff, right? So these were conversations. Now I had to validate it. So I did quite a lot of research, read research documents that were published about really what is the nutritional value. Is it really that calcium is 10 times more in ragi than rice? Again, bajra is 4 or 5 times more in, about 9 times more in iron content than just rice and wheat. So these are some stats that I was trying to validate myself, and before building and starting of early food recipes.
Okay. And how did you sell the first batch of your products?
Yeah, so as it started out of our like a small 10 by 10, like 100 square feet room, which is a part of our own 2 BHK home in Pune. It was a very small setup.
Mhm.
I had no big, business plan or
Mhm.
anything. It was just that this burning idea to start early foods. I mean, start a company that kind of provides good options, traditional, freshly made options to their children that they can easily feed. That was the only burning intention, right? So there were many like-minded women that I had friends during my, pregnancy journey. So I kind of posted messages that, we've started this. If you're interested, you can buy on our website and stuff. So and then I had a yoga teacher. So she was basically my prenatal yoga teacher. Her name is Mrs. Rolly Sapru. So she had a very conscious group of students
Mhm.
um, who were into
Mhm.
organic food, no sugar, no preservatives and stuff, that like-minded thinking.
Mhm.
So I kind of asked her if I could share the products with her students, and that's how it started. And then once those students really, they were really supportive. My teacher was very supportive, and that's when word of mouth kept spreading, and they kept coming back to buy early foods. And then social media has also helped. That time Facebook groups were very popular. Even now they are, but
Yeah.
I think Instagram is kind of taking over. But in those days, Facebook groups, a lot of people started
Mhm.
posting reviews. Hey, I found something on this website. I tried it. I really liked it for my child. And then from there, we would
Mhm.
start getting so many orders. And
Mhm.
once the child or the parent likes it, then there was like no looking back, right? They suggest it to another 10 women and 10 children, and then they come back for more.
Okay.
That's how it started.
And can you tell us a bit about the complexities that go into making convenient, ready-to-feed meals?
So the complexity starts from procuring the right ingredients. So initially, it was very tough for us to select a person who is going to
Mhm.
supply us good quality ingredients. There are 100 people who will say, "We'll give you the best quality ragi. We will give you the best
Mhm.
quality, almonds or dates
Mhm.
and stuff." Right? So procure. It starts right from there. So seeing how they are, getting them tested in the lab for
Mhm.
no pesticidal residue and stuff, and then how how consistently they are also maintaining quality and supplying to us. So we do regular checks on their quality.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's one part. And then we don't kind of already buy processed ingredients. Like
Mhm.
a lot of companies probably also just buy sprouted ragi flour
Mhm.
and then just put in some dry
Right.
fruits and sell it. I'm not sure, but yes, there are people doing it. But since we wanted to maintain a very high control in quality, we procure everything in whole grains, and then we
Mhm.
start the processing from there, from washing it, cleaning it,
Mhm.
drying it, roasting it, and
Mhm.
then making them porridge mixes with blending with some dry fruits and
Mhm.
makhana. So literally all the grains are washed and
Okay.
dried and sprouted. Yeah, we do sprout many grains
Mhm.
because it becomes more easy for the child to digest. Um, so sprouting is a big process, and then drying them and then making them into porridge mixes.
New businesses need constant tinkering. So, when did you start prioritizing and delegating a significant part of your work to your team? In which year?
So a lot of the technical stuff, I was handling a lot of it by myself for about a year. And because I was very new to all this, and I also, it's my personality to kind of probably micromanage things. So and I was not from a food industry, and neither none of my family members were there. So I had to, there were a lot of things for me to learn, get my hands dirty, and implement and execute and stuff. So I think after a year, when I no longer could handle it, I had to like start learning to pass on. Otherwise, you really can't expand, right? So I had to, after about a year, I think I started passing on. We hired a few people and started passing on the operational work to them.
You just mentioned that you were not from this background. You didn't have a point of reference. So, was it difficult for you? What were your initial challenges because you were not from this background, food business background?
So yes, it was very tough because I had no experience. But on the journey of the startup or entrepreneurship, I did meet a lot of people who were a part of the food industry, and all small startups, right? Like just like early foods,
Mhm.
who we all helped each other. Okay, who is a better supplier, or what are the organic certifications? What is the process for FSSAI license? We had a very good lawyer, a reference from my father-in-law, and so things like that. So you keep meeting people, um, as and when you get into trouble, something that you're stuck with, you always ask, right? You always try to find out, you always ask, and then you get help. It's not so difficult, thanks to the world that we live in, where there's so much of internet and so much information that's readily available. You do get a lot of help quickly. Yeah. So
That
yes, it takes time. You need to learn, things are complicated, you need to experiment, but it's nothing like it's impossible.
good to hear that. A common
Yeah.
perception, Shalini, is that when the business grows, exponentially, the quality of the product falls. Your orders have more than doubled in 5 years. So, how do you guard against growing too fast and making it all unmanageable?
Hmm. Yeah, so yes, we have grown quite a lot in the last 5 years, but I think we've grown organically. We've not grown very exponentially overnight. So
Mhm.
that way, it has not been like, oh my God, what can we do? It's so unmanageable. So we've always focused on having an organic growth, because that's where we can control the quality. As you said, yes, quality can take a hit if things suddenly explode, and that is something that we never wanted to do. That's why we don't have a very high marketing budget where we just spend a lot on advertisement and stuff. We really want the parent or our little babies to enjoy the food and then go word of mouth. And we have a small budget for marketing, but
Mhm.
yes, we've never done like a very massive advertising campaign and stuff, and because of which things really grew exponentially. So that way we've kind of
Mhm.
kept it in control. And yes, as we've grown, we've got more space. We have built a
Mhm.
bigger warehouse, a bigger packaging facility. Now it's a proper factory unit, right? So slowly we've developed. Just like a child grows, no child grows exponentially suddenly overnight, right? So some philosophy. But I think another reason why we've consciously done that is, I also have a child, right? I have, like, my son is 6 years old. I started
Mhm.
early foods when my son was about 6 months or 7 months. So I am a person who also wanted to give him and be very hands-on, cook for him, play with him, attend to him, be around. So that way, you know, I took it easy too. I mean, I thought, let there be a little balance, and let's grow, and let's take it as it comes.
How big is your team now?
So we're like about 25 people now.
You talked about your son,
Yeah.
so I'll ask you something about your family. Raising kids along with running a business can be very tough, very exhausting. So, how do you make room for family, work, and me time? What sort of trade-offs and compromises do you make?
Yes, it is very tough. But I think it's easier if you're a business owner to manage things, because it's all your rules. I always tell my husband that if I was working, I'm sure the person would have fired me, because I would have just not been able to manage the child and work. I'm sure about that. So thankfully, I have a business. Otherwise, I couldn't have managed. So it is very tough, um, because if you really want to give all the love and all the attention and bring them up, it is a full-time job as a mom. So everything in addition you do is like
Mhm.
more than 100% of what you're doing, right? So it is tough. So what I do, so I have a very supportive husband. So we manage the household chores together, um, and yeah, and that's about it. and working early mornings, getting up at 4 a.m., sleeping late in the night. So that's how it goes. But yeah, we've somehow sailed through. But I think the most important thing, or again, here is that it really has to be a passion. It really has to be a very big drive in you to do this. Otherwise, we all get exhausted at some point. So that mission, that intention, that purpose is what is going to keep you through all the tough times that you're going to encounter.
Thank you, Shalini, for the wonderful information and thank you for taking our time to talk to us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and I really loved all your questions. It kind of took me back to all the memories of starting early foods and what were the struggles, but at the same time, what are the things that give you so much satisfaction in life.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Shalini.
much for a lovely, lovely interview.